You didn't click on this video by accident, Sagittarius. Something deep, something sacred, has called you here. Someone once hurt you, they stole your trust, and believed they would never have to pay the price. But the universe, it never forgets. Today I'm going to reveal a truth that has been kept hidden. A karmic cycle is coming to a close, and the one who shattered the heart of a Sagittarius is about to face justice. Not just in the courts of man, but in the invisible laws of the soul. If you feel that something is shifting, if there's a voice in your heart whispering, yes, this time they will have to answer for what they did, then write in the comments, I am ready to witness the rise of divine justice. This isn't just a phrase. This is a declaration that vibrates through the very fabric of the energy surrounding your life. I am an astrologer, one who has studied the soul map of Sagittarius for many years. And today I'll tell you about a truth that is shaking both worlds, the world of the living and the world of karma. Because a name has just emerged from the shadows, and he can no longer escape. Hold on to your emotions, Sagittarius. What you're about to hear will help you understand why you're still standing to this day. You see, in astrology, no zodiac sign is born to be a victim. But if there is a soul the universe chooses to break free from the most brutal forms of captivity, it is you. Why? Because you were born under the symbol of the archer, the one who always points their arrow toward freedom, truth, and justice. Even when the world ties you down with lies, betrayal, or invisible manipulation, your soul always finds its way back to the light. And that is why you are often targeted. Not everyone understands Sagittarius. They think you're heartless when you walk away. They assume you're cold when you go silent. But the truth is, you've forgiven countless times before, finally choosing to leave. You've been patient, you've held on to trust, you tried to save someone who never deserved to be saved. And you know what? Jupiter, your ruling planet, never abandons those who live aligned with the truth. I once met a Sagittarius who lost everything. Not to an enemy, but to someone they loved deeply. And still, they chose forgiveness. Not because they were weak, but because they wanted to keep their soul clean. And that became the ultimate threat to those with dark intentions. Someone saw your steadiness and compassion as a weakness. They tested how much you could endure. They measured your limits, like a scientist poisoning a wild animal trapped in a cage, and you stayed silent. You didn't strike back right away, because your heart still loved. Because a part of you still believed people could change. But the truth is, you cannot be manipulated. You cannot be bent. You cannot be programmed like a puppet. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, will never allow you to be caged by any system built by man. And because of this, the universe intervened. That person thought you'd always come back, that you were too soft, that you would keep their secrets forever. But no, the secret is being exposed. And light is not something that can be extinguished anymore. I have worked with hundreds of Sagittarius charts, and if there is one truth I want you to remember, it's this. Sagittarius never falls because of betrayal. They only fall if they betray themselves. You may be in pain, you may cry, but you will not bow your head. You are the rebirth of a promise your ancestors once whispered to the stars. You were chosen, not to seek revenge, but to end the vicious cycle that generations before you could not break. In a world where truth is often distorted, kindness becomes prey. Compassion is mistaken for naivety, and forgiveness is treated like a debt to be exploited. But what Sagittarius teaches us is this. You can forgive, but you are not required to stay. You can be the light, but you are not a torch for others to burn for their own benefit. Write this in the comments if you've ever been hurt and no one stood up for you. I am Sagittarius. My light does not need permission to shine. Say it. Not for recognition, but to declare to the universe, I stood back up. I made it through. I've come home to myself. Have you noticed lately? The ones who once manipulated you seem lost. The secrets you never went looking for are now finding you. A strange feeling, like you're about to be released from something. That's not your imagination. That's the result of Jupiter moving closer to your 12th house, the house of karmic closures, soul liberation, and restored honor. Who used your heart and believed you would never dare to speak the truth. You don't need to answer that yet, because what you haven't said is already being spoken by higher realms on your behalf. Someone crossed a line, Someone saw you as a tool. They will soon receive an answer from both the physical world and the spiritual. And you, Sagittarius, you will be the first witness to truth coming into the light. Let me tell you, there was an object that once carried your energy. It was misused. And that very object is becoming the strongest piece of evidence in the return of divine justice. An investigation is underway. A witness has come forward, and your name has been removed from the list of victims. You are no longer the one harmed. You are the one bringing truth back into the world. Some pain makes no sound. It creeps in through the smallest details, a piece of paper, a passing moment when you let your guard down. It doesn't arrive with screams, but with the suspicious silence of those you trusted most. And when you look back, you realized your name was attached to things you never did. A strange transaction, a fabricated commitment, an accusation no one spoke out loud, but everyone silently agreed to. It didn't have to be loud. It only took a photograph, an item you once held with both hands while crying, or a half-written letter still carrying words your soul never got to say. They took it, without asking, without respect, and in a ritual performed in a place you never set foot in, they placed the softest part of you at the center of a magic circle. For what? Not to understand you, but to manipulate you, to take control of your path without ever entering your heart. During the last Mercury retrograde in Gemini, especially in your 7th house, things were not normal. The 7th house rules partnerships, reflection, and open enemies. And when Mercury, planet of communication, contracts, and signatures, retrogrades there, everything can be twisted. A document signed with your name, but you never held the pen. You don't know why, but when you look at that handwriting, you feel like your soul is being betrayed. A transaction through an account in your name, but you never gave your consent. You didn't even know that account existed until it became evidence used against you. A ritual was performed in your name, yet your soul remains exhausted, confused, unable to understand why you felt so tired for no reason at all. You start to wonder, did I accidentally agree to something? Do I somehow deserve what's been happening? Or am I just too weak to fight back? But Sagittarius, you need to remember this. When you forgive, that is the mark of greatness. But when you stay silent while others continue to harm you, that is no longer kindness. It is the rejection of your sacred worth. I once spoke to a Sagittarius who was betrayed by their own friends, had their reputation stolen, then was blamed for not being careful enough. He told me, I lived in the guilt of my own mind until I forgot that I didn't do anything wrong. Not everyone holding the evidence is telling the truth, and not everyone who stays silent has lost. Some battles are only tried in invisible courts, the court of energy, of conscience, of karma, the feeling of being misunderstood, the feeling of living in a story someone else wrote for you, the feeling that everyone believes a version of you that isn't real. If that makes your chest tighten as you hear this, write in the comments, I will no longer stay silent for injustice. I am Sagittarius, and I deserve the truth. Because light always finds its own way back. Just when they thought the ritual was complete, just when they believed you'd forever stay buried under the dust of confusion, the universe began to turn everything upside down. A witness suddenly dreams of you, again and again for many nights. An object once thought lost is discovered in a locked room. An old memory returns to your mind as if whispered from another realm. It is a guided sequence, a map slowly unfolding where you are the center, and all that once hurt you is now being brought into the light. You don't need to retaliate. You don't need to speak a harsh word, because the laws of man have begun to move, and the laws of heaven have never stopped. Ahead of you lies the most awaited moment. Someone has just testified. Someone has just been named. And one object holding the proof is now in the hands of those no longer afraid. What comes next is sacred. Let me tell you how the honor of Sagittarius was preserved, not by revenge, but by divine light carried from ancient souls. And you will realize everything is returning to where it belongs. If you are ready for the truth, write this. I have returned to the light. I am no longer being manipulated. And if this video means something to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it as an act of helping dissolve darkness with truth. There are some things you don't need to search for, because when the time is ripe, truth speaks on its own. And it doesn't have to scream. It only takes an old envelope being opened, a witness who suddenly stops, sighs, and begins to tell the story. Or an email, long forgotten, suddenly found by someone who wasn't even looking. That just happened. The first person who saw it was only trying to organize documents in a storage room. But at the bottom of a file connected to a completely unrelated investigation, your name appeared. Not a stray reference. It was a signature, a document, a financial statement used to open a shadow account, an account that was used to move a large sum of money under your name. But you never knew. And the thing that triggered suspicion was that the signature didn't match. It wasn't your handwriting. It wasn't your energy. It was someone who had once stood very close to the person who harmed you. They stayed silent, out of fear. But recently, they started dreaming of you, many times. In those dreams, you didn't say a word. You simply stood there, looking at them. Your eyes weren't angry. They were just sad. And that was something they couldn't bear. So they began recording everything they knew. They sent anonymous emails to the investigator. And then, a new stream of data unfolded. And within it was the very first piece of evidence that forced the police to get involved. Did you know Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, is moving into your 12th house, the house of secrets, hidden enemies, and karmic reckoning? When the planet of justice enters the darkest corner of your soul, it also becomes the light that pierces through the shadows. This is no coincidence. This is a divine operation to restore your name, to reclaim your truth. What was once hidden can no longer hide. You don't need to scream to be believed. You don't need to provide 1,000 reasons, because some souls are protected by silence itself. You don't need to shout. The quiet light in your eyes is already the verdict. You forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because your sacred heart couldn't hold hatred any longer. But forgiveness does not mean erasing all traces, because the universe never forgets. If your name was used, if people spoke of you using a distorted version you couldn't defend, if you stayed silent to protect someone else's peace while sacrificing your own, then write this in the comments. I deserve to be heard, and justice is returning to me. Write it to declare it to yourself. Write it as an act of healing. The person you once trusted, the one who laughed with you, ate with you, hugged you while you cried, was also the one who handed your personal information to someone else. Why? Not just for money, not just for power, but because they couldn't stand the light you carried. They tried to break you down into a version they could control, and when you didn't bow, they found another way. But hear this. You are not walking alone. There are sacred forces protecting you. There are ancient souls guarding your name. And when the light within you begins to rise, no one can hide from the truth. Let me tell you about a sacred object, once yours, then stolen, used in a forbidden ritual. But that same object has now become the key to dismantling the entire web of manipulation. Something that once caused you pain is now returning to heal you. And the person who thought they would escape is now standing at the door they cannot walk back through. Are you ready? Write in the comments, I believe in the divine timing of truth. And if this touched something in you, click like, share it, and help spread the light to those still silent because of fear. Have you ever felt like you were carrying a pain, but you didn't even know where it started? A sense of being trapped in memories that don't have a clear face or name, bound by an invisible thread connecting you to the sorrow of your parents, the helplessness of your grandparents, and the things no one in your family ever dared to name. According to Astrology, Chiron, the asteroid of wounding and healing, is now moving through your fourth house, the house of family, memory, and ancestral roots. This is no coincidence. The fourth house rules memories, ancestors, and the emotional inheritance passed through your bloodline. And for Sagittarius, this means you're being called to end a cycle of pain that has lasted across generations. Not everyone dares to face it, but you are different. Because your soul was born to never walk past the truth, no matter how much it hurts. You once kept silent because you feared that if you spoke the truth, people would turn away. Or worse, they'd say you were imagining things, that you were too sensitive, that every family is like that. But you were not born to continue that excuse. You are the one who stops and says, that's enough. And that doesn't make you selfish. it makes you brave. I once knew a Sagittarius who walked away from a broken relationship. They were blamed for not being more patient. But do you know what moved me the most? It was how they left, in silence but with eyes full of compassion. They didn't badmouth anyone. They just carried their light and disappeared. And that disappearance forced those who hurt them to finally face their own shadows. Sagittarius is the soul born to awaken conscience, even when it means being the first to feel the pain. We live in a world where truth isn't always welcome. Those who speak up are often labeled as too much. Those who refuse to comply are seen as difficult. But here's what you must remember. Those who do wrong will never escape justice, not just by man, but by the laws of the universe. And every time truth is spoken, society takes one step closer to the light. You're not just healing yourself, you're healing the timeline before you and the ones yet to come. Have you ever stayed quiet out of fear of being misunderstood? Afraid of being labeled too dramatic? Afraid of losing someone's love if you spoke what you saw? Today, I invite you to rewrite that story. You don't need to tell the world. Just tell yourself, I will no longer be silent. I honor my soul. If you're ready, comment, I am Sagittarius. I have returned from the darkness with a torch in my hand. And maybe now you're starting to notice the ones who once manipulated you are now avoiding your gaze. You dream constantly of running, of flying, of unlocking a door. A stranger says something that hits a wound you've buried, and tears begin to fall. These are all signs. You're no longer held captive by the shadows of your past. No one can take back the light that has been activated in you. No ritual can bind a soul that has awakened, and no prison can hold a Sagittarius who has seen the truth. You are returning. Step by step, breath by breath, every choice you make today is rewriting the destiny of your entire bloodline. Let me tell you of a dream that signals the final liberation. A glowing gate you've seen in your sleep but never dared to cross. A whisper from your ancestors saying, you are strong enough now, you may walk forward. And beyond that gate is something no one can ever take from you again. Freedom. If your heart is trembling right now, write in the comments, I choose freedom. I choose light. I am Sagittarius. And if this video stirred something in you, like it, share it, so this light may reach another soul who is still trapped in silence somewhere out there. Because you never know. Someone out there might need the story you just heard, just to find the courage to keep living. Now is the time to stop and take a deep breath. Because what you've been waiting for is finally happening. The one who once made you fall has now been named. They may never face a human courtroom, but they are being held in a circle of disgrace, isolation, and karma. And the harshest punishment isn't the loss. It's when their own conscience no longer lets them sleep. You don't need revenge. You don't need to win in the eyes of others, because the truth is always strong enough to defend itself, and the light always finds its way back. You are being supported. You are being guided. You are being led, not by human hands, but by invisible ones, full of mercy and wisdom. You have not been forgotten. You have not been permanently harmed. You are living proof that light cannot be extinguished, even if it's trampled on, buried in dust, or ignored. You're simply on your way, back to the light. And if you've stayed until this very last moment, I want to thank you. From the deepest part of my soul, thank you for being brave enough to listen. Thank you for not giving up, even when it all seemed to collapse. Thank you for choosing light. Even when darkness surrounded you so tightly, you began to doubt your own worth. You, with a heart that's honest, eyes that have known pain, and a faith that still dares to hope, you are the one the universe keeps protecting. Write in the comments below, I did not break. I am Sagittarius, a soul protected by the divine. Write it not so others can see, but so you can mark the moment you return to your true power. Like this video, share it, help another silent soul be seen, because the light belongs to no one, and truth should never stay hidden in the dark. In the next video, I'll tell you about a sacred dream that's been repeating across the Sagittarius collective, a dream sent by your ancestors, with a message you cannot afford to miss. You're strong enough now to hear it, and awake enough to know everything you've been through was never meaningless. See you in the next part, where your soul will no longer have to ask for permission to fly, because you are Sagittarius, and your soul was never meant to be a prisoner. You are the light, returning to yourself.